the main thing is to have that group that I'm working with have in sync. You know, that's why I said like I need my group. It's like it cannot be like, okay, I'm gonna change my physio coming to Olympics. That guy wouldn't know how the dynamic kind of works, and I don't want to have that slight mistake or flaw to be my demise coming to Olympics. You know, that would be very expensive virtual kind of thing. So if I take them out of where they're actually working, it's not gonna be super beneficial for me. But you know, coming Olympic Games, I think that's where it really matters for them to be there in Tokyo, to be able to provide me the things I need when I need it. And yeah, that's the most crucial part, that I would really save up whatever I have to be able to make sure that my team would be there.
Looking at your recent accomplishments, parang it's easy to say na you're doing really great, you know, because of all. Well, first of all, you qualified, you know, sa Olympics as a talaga namang qualifier.
Right now, I'm not focusing on the things that I don't have. If I do that, you know, it's very depressing. You know, if I look at things and how it's going and how things are developing, and I focus on that, that's just gonna put my morale really down. You know, just knowing how things are going, and you know, scarcity of funding here and there. It's, you know, as my psychology said, that's part of being a Filipino athlete, and that makes the journey a little bit different. But you know, right now, if I complain, then you know, I'm already accepting defeat. I'm just trying to make sure. That's why I'm very lucky to have these people around me that make sure that I get everything that I need. That's why I believe that my team actually means the best for me. You know, they really want me to perform my best, and I owe them to train as hard as I can, and I owe them everything that I have inside me to be able to push myself each day in training and be able to perform. So I'm not really gonna say like there's always gonna be something to say about how things are going, but right now I'm just focusing on the things I need to do, and I have the people that are with me. Of course, it would be better if they are well compensated, but they're working and they are, you know, providing me what I need, the best that they can, and the best that I can, I will do whatever it is to repay whatever they have provided me. And I think that's just, it's more than just being an athlete. You know, that's being a human, that's being a person, that's being someone who has respect for my coach, respect for my team. You know, I can't just slack and be able to, or just lose morale on them. You know, they're here working to push me, so I need to push myself and just shake everything off and just focus on the task at hand.
Okay, and siguro EJ, it's safe to say that the Filipino spirit talaga yung pinapakita mo ngayon, regardless of whatever obstacles na kinakaharap mo. For the typical Filipino, no, talagang gagawa mo ng paraan.
Yeah, you know, that's where we're quite good. You know, we just make things work. I don't know how, miraculously we make things work. So I just need to embody that right now.
So with that, maraming salamat sa iyo, Ernest John Obiena, Filipino Olympian. Meantime, again, ako po si Dennis Principe and you're watching Team Pilipinas.
Maaga kasi akong nalulong sa masamang bisyo. I was 14 years old. So naranasan ko yung mga bad vices talaga. Then one day, umuwi ako ng province namin. Nakita ko lang yung mga parents ko na parang nasabi ko lang bigla, ano bang ginagawa ko sa buhay ko? Parang kawawa naman yung parents ko na getting older na, tapos I'm in dark road. So I decided, parang ginising lang ako ng guardian angel ko, look at your parents, parang ganun. So I decided na when I go back to city, I will enroll gym. I didn't think na mag-bodybuilder ako or being competitive athletes. So ginagawa ko lang yun para maiwasan ko muna yung mga bisyo. So tapos nilapitan na lang ako ng kaibigan ko na in-encourage ako, mag-compete ka kasi maganda yung genetic ng katawan mo, you have potential. Sabi ko, I don't have any idea. Sabi niya, turuan kita, ganito lang yan, ganyan. So after 2 years, I think less than 2 years, so sinubukan namin mag-compete. So ano naman, pumasok ka agad sa finalist. Ayun, hanggang sa tinuloy-tuloy ko na lang.
Thank you, athlete number 46, 𝐏𝐤𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐳 Jr. from the country of Philippines.
Actually, yung panahon na yun, sipag lang talaga eh. Kasi wala naman kaming pera, mahirap lang kami na pamilya. Sipag lang sa workout, tapos pag kung ano yung meron, yun lang talaga. Dati, bumibili kami, isang piling na saging, yun yung pagkain namin. Akala ko, tama na yun na nutrition. Pero dinaan lang talaga sa sipag. 1999, nag-compete ako ng, that's my first ever, Mr. Philippines competition. So, nag-champion naman ako sa division ko. Meron pa kaming dati, yung tinatawag na paperweight division. So doon ako nagsimula na naging Mr. Philippines. Tapos after 1 year, umakyat ako ng division. Hanggang sa dumating ako ng welterweight. Tapos nag-compete kami ng SEA Games, nanalo naman. Hanggang sa sunod-sunod na yun kung ano yung mga international competition ko. Tapos na-hire ako ng head trainer sa Kuwait that time. So nag-quit ako sa Philippine team. Tapos nag-head trainer kasi medyo maganda ang offer. Doon na ako na mag-compete ang mas higher level sa international. Kaugalian ko kasi na every year gusto kong mag-step up, kung gusto ko maabot yung higher level, kung ano yung... Actually, pinag-desirean ko talaga yon kasi since nag-give up ko yung degree ko, because I am a licensed marine engineer. So sabi ko, sige, parang dito yata destiny ko, masaya ako, pero panindigan ko na talagang aabutin ko yung kaya kong abutin. Ang bodybuilding kasi hindi naman porkit malaki ka or mas matangkad ka, ikaw na yung sigurado na manalo, no? Ang pinagbasihan pa rin dyan, paano mo kinumplito, paano mo in-sculpt yung katawan mo from upper to lower. So tapos, paano mo pinaganda yung kondisyon mo. So yun lang. Ang naka-advantage lang kasi sa atin, Pinoy, maganda yung genetic at saka yung balance. So, sa kanila, malaki sila pero minsan kulang yung symmetry. So, doon tayo naka-advantage.
Ang maliit at siksik na Pilipino ay nagwagi sa Mr. Universe ng kamangha-manghang 2 sunod na beses noong 2008 at 2009 at sa Arnold Classic noong 2012. Tinuruan niya rin ang ilang naging international champion. Makalipas ang ilan pang taong pamamayani, dumating na ang panahon na pinili niyang magretiro.
Actually, nag-retired ako noong 2018, no. Pinag-usapan namin ng matagal ng misis ko yun na siguro, sabi niya kasi, enough na siguro yun, naabot mo na yung pangarap mo na gusto mong maging Mr. Universe. Not once but twice. Siguro sabi niya, focus na tayo sa for survival of living. So ayun, nagkasundo naman kami doon. Turo na lang ang mga new generation. So, yun, nag-early retirement ako.
My official retirement today. This is my last competition. Thank you very much, fans. And thank you for your support.
Isang taong pinaghirapan ni Master Dondon ang pagpapalaki at pagpapaganda ng kanyang gym sa Taguig City nang balutin ng pandemya ang mundo.
wala kang income tapos na nagkaroon pa ng crisis na ganito, pandemic. Pero sa awa ng Diyos, namamanage naman kasi huwag mo lang isipin na ganyan kahirap yung, kumbaga, kagustuhan ng Diyos yan eh. Pero hindi naman ibigay sa'yo siguro yan pag wala kang solusyon na ibabato doon. Sa mga gustong mag-bodybuilder o yung mga newcomers, wala naman talagang mahirap kung gusto niya lang gawin talaga. So, yun lang, gawin nyo lang yung nasa puso nyo. Keep train hard. Kung nag-ambisyon kayo, hindi yung puro ambisyon, gagawin nyo rin.
And that's this week's episode of Team Pilipinas, and my name is 𝐓𝐞𝐚𝐦 𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐚𝐬. Catch us every Saturdays, 4 p.m. only here on People's Television para sa bayan. And always remember, we are all on the same team. We are all on Team Pilipinas. See you guys next week. On this episode of Team Pilipinas,
Majority of the NSAs and the athletes are willing to be vaccinated.
vaccination. Will it be required of all athletes before the SEA Games? Our first virtual roundtable. 𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐳 has been flying high in Europe. Is he ready for Tokyo?
I don't want to have that slight mistake or flaw to be my demise coming to Olympics.
Jasmine Alcalde talks about the challenges of training for the Olympics under the restrictions of quarantine.
No one has been really checking up on me. I haven't been told, what I should do, what I can do. So it's very discouraging.
And we look back on the career of two-time Mr. Universe and SEA Games medalist, Master Don Cortuna.
Kung nag-ambisyon kayo, hindi yung puro ambisyon, gagawin nyo rin.
Welcome to Team Pilipinas. My name is 𝐓𝐞𝐚𝐦 𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐚𝐬. The Philippine Sports Commission plans to request the Philippine Olympic Committee to vaccinate all the national athletes competing for the Hanoi Southeast Asian Games. What are the pros and cons of this move?
Over a year after COVID-19 blanketed the world, Philippine sports continues to reel from its crippling effects. As cases soar, the country's top sports bodies may implement a no vaccine, no training policy for national athletes to the 2021 Southeast Asian Games in Hanoi. Team Pilipinas spoke with various sports stakeholders to know their stance on the landmark new policy. We are now joined by POC Executive Board Member and Muay Thai Association of the Philippines Secretary General, Ms. Pearl Managuilod. Ms. Pearl, magandang hapon and welcome to our show.
Hi, Nissy. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here in Team Pilipinas na show. And I'm always happy to be back with you.
Ma'am, there are reports that PSC may recommend a no vaccine, no training policy because COVID-19 cases continue to soar in the country and people testing positive for the virus are getting closer to home, and it's no secret that Filipino athletes have not been spared. Do you think this is the right remedy, especially that the inoculation campaign is at its early stages?
You know what? I understand the concern of PSC when it comes to the safety of the athletes. We've been in this pandemic for more than a year now, and I mean, their cases have been rising, bumaba last year, and now it's back up again. I think we have to be more proactive really with our approach, with our strategies, that rather than being reactive about it. Vaccines won't really stop COVID, right? It will mitigate the risks, it will lower the symptoms, but it will not totally eradicate the virus. And even with the vaccines on hand, even if the athletes are inoculated, we still have to practice safety protocols, right? Health protocols. So having that policy really, I think, would defeat the purpose of having a bubble training. Kasi kaya nga we want a bubble training because we want it to be in a controlled environment. And what does that mean? Having a controlled environment means that we are limiting the external variables that can, affect the training, that can affect the athletes. It would be able to monitor and in a way manipulate the outcome of that controlled environment. So having that bubble training means that in a way they are safe. I mean, we're not completely 100% bulletproofing the athletes when they're in the bubble training, but at least we're able to control the variables around it. There are small things that we can do to make sure that the bubble training can push through even without the vaccine. So, we can set up a COVID monitoring team, like there's a team talaga, a task force that would monitor all the athletes. They can have a dedicated line wherein athletes can call them if they have any problems. I honestly think a lot of athletes are not aware of how serious this is. Or kung may vaccine man, they might think na, okay na, safe na ako, I don't need to practice anything anymore. So I think a big part of it really is information awareness. Let's look at the best practices na lang of our Southeast Asian neighbors. They never stopped training. If they were able to do it, I'm sure we can adapt the same practices that they've had to make sure that the athletes can go back to their training already.
To me, POC is about ensuring that the athletes will be able to follow that original timeline for training in order for the country to eclipse its performance from the last SEA Games. Meanwhile, to me, PSC is concerned about the health and wellness, or the health and well-being of the athletes. As a member of the POC who also holds a position as part of an NSA, where do you draw the line? And how will these two agencies meet halfway?
I don't think it's fair to say that they're at the opposite end of the spectrum. Okay. I think they are both concerned with the safety and wellness of the athletes. I'm sure President Bambol Tolentino also has the best interest of the athletes in mind, right? But I think it's very possible that both parties come up with strategies. They can work together, they can partner together so that they have all the resources that they have on hand. We've already been given guidelines naman by the CDC, by the WHO, how to manage these risks. And I think really it's just a matter of implementing and coming up with a framework that everyone can follow, plans and strategies that that the NSAs, the athletes and the coaches can follow to make sure nga na, we are safe, but at the same time, we are also on track with our training for the SEA Games. We have to catch up for almost a year dun sa ibang bansa. And I think we should just really be more proactive about it. I cannot emphasize that enough. We also have to work closely with other agencies, I guess, like MSAS or the regional IATF, if possible, to make sure na yung gagawin na bubble training, it follows all the protocols. Para safety and training, they can go hand in hand naman. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't mean we're sacrificing the safety if we go back to training. It doesn't mean that we have to sacrifice training if we want the safety, because I think they can, work well together.
What do you think are the pros and cons about getting vaccinated?
I'm all for vaccinations. I'm not an anti-vaxxer.
Just to be clear.
Just to be clear, I'm not. I want to be vaccinated. Because vaccines, it's not just about protecting yourself, right? It's also about protecting the people around you, especially the vulnerable. So I'm really hoping that, we could have the rollout much sooner than expected. May balita na dadating yung Moderna by May or June, and the other vaccines arriving in July. So we're hoping that the athletes can be can be prioritized. Siyempre, pros, you protect people. If you want to reach this herd immunity that everyone's talking about, that everybody has, like 70% now has to get vaccinated, it will give everybody a peace of mind. But again, there's also that risk that, people might be complacent and stop practicing hygiene. The cons really is just because this is such a novel virus, right? We don't really know a lot about it. So even the vaccine itself is just on its phase 3 of clinical trials. So we don't really know the long-term effects. All in all, I'm all for it.
Ma'am, as both an officer of the Muay Thai Association of the Philippines and the POC, of course, you get to interact with athletes on a regular basis and know their thoughts. But I'm curious to know, what's the opinion of athletes when it comes to the topic of vaccination? Are they open to being inoculated, or some of them, or are they having second thoughts about it?
You know what? I actually raised that question when I had the cluster meeting for the SEA Games, and majority of the NSAs and the athletes are willing to be vaccinated. There was no doubt about that. So what we're doing now really is we're going to organize a webinar, Attorney Agra and I, because we're the DCDMs for the SEA Games. We're going to organize a webinar that will inform the athletes of, the pros and cons of the vaccines, on what they should do after, and all the things involved around it. Yung iba lang, I think they're a bit hesitant because they don't know how it's going to affect their performance, or how it's going to affect their bodies. But all in all, they're all willing to be inoculated.
The POC and the PSC are doing their best efforts to provide what's needed at the moment. Given the difficult circumstances, how optimistic are you that the country will shine in Hanoi for the biennial games?
You know what? I have full confidence in the athletes kasi alam ko atletang Pilipino may puso yan. Hindi yan susuko eh. They will fight to the end. They will fight to their death just to make sure that they get the medal. But with the preparations, I'm still hoping we can still make it because, they've been training naman, right? It's not like they completely stopped. But I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful and optimistic that we'll at least be in the top 3, for the SEA Games, if not the number 1 or number 2, at least top 3. Because President Bambo has carefully chosen the sports that will participate. He has, carefully selected the athletes that will represent the country. So those that will represent us are have very big chances of winning medals.
The deadly virus has broken communion, collapsed community, and fractured solidarity. But the PSC and POC refuse to cower in the face of adversity, choosing to work hand in hand to safeguard our Filipino athletes. At the end of the day, the goal remains the same: to live, heal, and win as one. Nisi Casiano, sumasaludo sa atletang Pilipino.
𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐩𝐢𝐬 𝐏𝐿𝐶𝐚𝐦 is determined to make one final splash in the Olympic Games. But how hard is it to train for a swimming competition when you can't even use a pool?
This is Team Pilipinas on PTV4, and I am with our Olympic swimmer, 𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐻𝐢 Thank you, Jasmine, for your time. How are you doing, and how is your training looking like itong panahon ng lockdown?
Hi, Sal. I'm happy to talk to you. I've missed you. So far, alam mo na, just at home trying to do the most that I can with what I have. Pero before this ECQ, I feel so proud of myself for being able to kind of get into a routine of swimming and doing weight gym work and dry land work, which is land work. Incorporated into my routine, kind of parang making the most of the situation. Even though hirap, sometimes I would swim from Las Piñas, I would drive to Marikina, but it's dedication. So I'm happy with that. With the CCQ, we're back to square one. So dito lang muna sa bahay, working out. Pero every day I work out. So I think better than wala.
Why Marikina?
Because there was a time na walang open a swimming pool, and there was a facility there na was open with gym facility, limited people. So luckily, me and a teammate, we were able to hear of that place. So for the most of 2020, last year, that was my training base. I would go there 4 times a week to swim and then gym. So yeah, pero ngayon, well, before ECQ this year, mas marami nang nag-open up. So I've been swimming closer to Las Piñas now.
Right, right. So I'm pretty sure it must be a really challenging time to be, you know, to be staying on top, staying in shape, but you also have to be creative. So what are your coach's plans to prepare, say, for the Olympics, for the SEA Games, and what is the current situation and what are the current challenges that you and your coaches are facing right now?
So I'm lucky enough to be able to get to train with my coach someday. We meet at a swimming pool in 𝐏𝐤𝐥𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐳. See, I'm all over Manila. And we have made a training plan where, towards my goals. It's very limited now because of the situation. I removed a lot of my events, focusing on 1 or 2, and we've been practicing doing race simulations, and we're doing our part. So yun lang. In regards to competing, I haven't competed since SEA Games 2019. It's obviously mostly because of COVID, the pandemic, sobrang limited where I can go. Limited lang din yung places that accept tourists to compete. And it's very difficult to work towards the Olympic qualifying. My last time to get to try was the SEA Games. And now, I'm a little not confident. I have never trained for one thing in my life. It's usually a lot of different events. So ever since the pandemic, I'm just focused on one thing. And I was very much looking forward to see, thinking like maybe there will be magic. But yun lang, wala lang opportunity to do so. I'm trying my best to see where I can go. And that's it. It's just me. I don't have any help on parang figuring out ways to see how I could qualify or join any qualifying tournament for the Olympics. So yun lang yung, I don't know, it's difficult. Lalo na as a local athlete based here in the Philippines, you would think na your federation understands what you're going through and the struggles of not just training, but also trying to compete. Kasi with this situation, where can we go? It's only limited. And then, yun pa yung mga malalayo.
In terms of the magic that you were mentioning, what kind of magic is it that you're looking for? And also, how does that make you feel about keeping your hopes up towards the Olympics? So what are the chances that you have? How does that make you feel about how high your chances are?
To be honest, right now, I feel like my chances are very low because parang no one has been really checking up on me. I haven't been told, what I should do, what I can do. So it's very discouraging. Although, syempre, a part of me is a fighter. I still want to try to see if I could make it. So the magic that I'm talking about is, in a better world, in a world where, people actually help our local athletes here. It would be great to see, because for me, to be able to be training for one event, I have never done it in my life. So that yun lang yung silver lining nung pandemic. It kind of forced me to focus on one thing and like give it my all. So yun lang yun. But to be honest, just very discouraged because I can't see, I can't try. I don't know. We tried to do it here with my coach na parang testing lang, but it doesn't mean anything when it's not, an Olympic qualifying tournament. So yun lang.
Well, given that you are amazing for trying to train at top level in spite of a lot of uncertainties around you. So wish you the best of luck, Jasmine, and we'll definitely follow you on your trainings and your preparation for the big tournaments. And hopefully, you get the support and also, the circumstances will allow you to do what you're set out to do. And thank you very much for your time.
You are watching Team Pilipinas. I'm Boyet Sison. On this edition of Team Pilipinas, we have the National Training Director of the Philippine Sports Commission, Coach Mark Velasco. Well, Coach, our government has been putting in different quarantine restrictions every now and then. At the start of the year, how did that affect your timetable?
Actually, it affected everybody's timetable, not just the sport. Before the ACQ was hit, we were able to send all of the athletes home. We did have a few athletes who had difficulty in traveling, and we had them in field sports for a few weeks. But generally, we were able to send them back home. For us, I think obviously the Olympics was postponed, so we moved our timetable. Second, we had difficulty with our budget. Much of our budget, to the tune of 1.3 billion, was being used for part of the COVID fund that was used last year. And obviously our source of fund, the NSDF from PAGCOR, nag-deplete po siya kasi obviously casinos were shut down and no earnings from the PAGCOR. But slowly but surely at the middle of last year, at the end of the year, medyo nakaka-remit na po yung PAGCOR, and we're eternally grateful na hindi pa rin nila nakalimutan yung PSC as part of their contribution to the NSDF. Our focus then during that time was to get the Olympic program going kasi hindi nga nag-stop yung Olympics, so it was just postponed. But we feel that we still have to continue the Olympic program. So we were granted permission by the IATF to continue with the Olympic training. Hence, we were able to do series of bubble trainings for our Olympic athletes.
Were you even thinking of maybe a no vaccine, no training policy for the PSC in all of this?
I think at the moment that would be difficult to quantify, but we still are, and we are studying that option. But obviously, the key component of that no vaccine, no training, or no competition is the vaccine, and the vaccine has, the government has a priority program for our vaccine, and we only go where the government brings us. We are studying the possibility if the vaccine is there, much safer. Obviously, not taking anyone's right not to have vaccinated or to have somebody vaccinated. We still have to have that, but obviously that's a layer of protection that we encourage our athletes to have. And some of our athletes are actually vaccinated kasi some of them, or a good number of them, are part of our armed forces of the Philippines, and some of them are frontliners.
Tuloy na ang Olympiada, no? Can you give us an update on how the trainings is in general? I mean, for all the athletes that are supposed to be preparing for that.
Well, the good news is a good number of our athletes are training outside. Obviously, we have 𝐏𝐤𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐩𝐢𝐧𝐚𝐬 in Italy. Heidi where she just qualified for the Olympics by formalizing her entry doon sa Asian weightlifting. She was training in Malaysia. Of course, 𝐓𝐞𝐚𝐦, which our best chance to have multiple medal. He's training in Tokyo for how many years now? We have a number of judoka in Tokyo. Yuka Saso, who's doing well in her rankings, and if the Olympics were to be held now, she should be qualified together with Bianca, who's above top 40. So a lot of good things are really coming together. In fact, I think Miss Akiko Thompson, even some of the sports personality, I think this is the wherein our athletes have the best chance to win a medal. This is, I think, the best class of athletes that is going to the Olympics. So It's not just the sheer number of them going to the Olympics. It's the quality of the athletes that we are sending to the Olympics. For PSC, working together with the POC and the chef de mission, we are doing our best basically to provide them with everything they need. So PSC right now is really focused on our the Olympic athletes. That's why I think Chef de Mission Mon Fernandez wanted the training of the SEA Games to maybe start a little bit. I think by June, siguro by that time everything for the Olympic program is already set. So right now, kasi we're still working through our Olympic program. This is the lineup that has a lot of chances to get at least a medal in the Olympics, and we never had multiple medals.
Looking at the timetable vis-a-vis the games itself, when are you planning to get the contingent to go?
If they need to be there as early as 4 weeks, 6 weeks, the PSC is ready to accommodate that. In fact, I think it would be more prudent also on the part of our athletes to be there earlier, because we might not know if there's a quarantine clearance we have to do. If an athlete gets infected like few days before he or she flies to Japan, that will be very difficult. But if the athlete is earlier, then we have more leeway for adjustment and even to do some intervention. So we made sure that the POC and the NSAs who are going to the Olympics, we made sure that to tell them that the PSC is really willing to support them. There's a good number of them who are abroad, and I cannot pinpoint the exact number. The only ones we have for the Olympic program is training here at the moment are our archery. We have our fencing team who both have their bubble. The archery is now in Dumaguete, being hosted by Mayor Remolio, and they have a very good program there. They're being well provided for, very supported by the LG, and obviously fencing. Si Mayor Richard Gomez, who's the mayor of Ormoc and also the president of fencing. So once we have them fly to their qualifications, some of them has to come back to the Philippines. But for example, for 𝐏𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐩𝐢𝐳, I'm not sure if it's practical for him to go to the Philippines. I think he has to go through directly to Japan. Some of the athletes has to go through directly to Japan. I think they have a better chance of clearing quarantine procedures or clearing COVID procedures if they come from the other countries.
What about the SEA Games? How is the synchronicity for our athletes vis-a-vis these two tournaments?
The Philippine Olympic Committee pegged a number, I think 626 for the actual participants for the SEA Games, but we're looking to support around 800 athletes, because some of them have to, of course, train with the training partner. Some of them are ranked equally, and the NSA has a prerogative to select, have the final selection of which athletes are able to send. Right now, there won't be any synchronization, so to speak, because we are focused on the Olympics now. Obviously, we don't want them to start as early as possible, on their bubble, because being in a bubble is a really entirely different animal. You cannot really put the athletes in one area and have them confined in that space for 6 months or 7 or 8 months. That's too long for them.
For you as an athlete yourself, how difficult is it to train for a major competition with this scenario around us?
For the athletes, they're not immune to that. In fact, they're more prone to the bad effects of being confined in one space, because they put so much effort physically and other things that also mentally they have to be well taken care of. Now we have deployed our sports psychologists who from time almost every day have to get in touch with our athletes regardless if they feel the need to talk or not, but I just want our psychologists to touch base with our athletes. Our psychologists are working closely with their coaches. So for me, I think I still believe that the Filipino athletes have better mental fortitude than any other athlete in the world.
And I completely agree with you. Thank you very much, Coach Mark Velasco, for joining us today. And the best of luck to you and all our Filipino athletes. Thank you.
Thank you, Wyatt. Thank you.
That was Coach Mark Velasco, the National Training Director of the Philippine Sports Commission. I'm Boyet Sison.
𝐏𝐤𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐩𝐢𝐧𝐚𝐬 has been flying high in Europe. Is he ready for Tokyo?
I don't want to have that slight mistake or flaw to be my demise coming to Olympics.
Hello, my name is Dennis Principe and this is Team Pilipinas, and we are so honored this afternoon dahil makakasama po natin straight from Italy ang isa po sa ating Olympians in the upcoming Tokyo Olympics, Paul Walter 𝐏𝐤𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐸. Ano na yung pinagdadaanan mo ngayon, and anong level na ng training tayo, considering that you are preparing for the upcoming Olympic Games, which is just a few months away from now?
As an athlete, training goes on. Right now, we're preparing for a competition this coming May. I think it's the later part of May. So that's the plan, to actually start the outdoor season there, to kind of get the competitive side of things again. And so I think now we're not really in the full run yet. So we're doing like some 12-step short runs and working on the technique, working on getting stronger, getting a little bit faster, as always, what we do during this period. So far, I feel healthy, I feel good, a little pain here and there, which is part of being an athlete. So nothing to complain, nothing to worry about. I mean, so far, I'm good. I'm just trying to stay healthy coming Olympic Games, We try to maximize what we have. Who knows if the plans actually went the way it was planned. But sa ngayon po kasi, so far, okay naman, maganda naman yung preparation. So, I mean, not completely, we cannot do training camps here and there. We're training in the same place where I usually train. I have really nothing to complain about, and I can't really tell how, I can't really compare if the plans actually went the way I wanted to go. So I'm just gonna say, I'm just trying to make sure that whatever is available, I'm able to maximize it. So, I'm just thinking of going to Olympics. Right now, we're preparing for the teams, and I'm hoping all the people that I need to be in the Olympics will be in the Olympics. I can't really foresee what is going to happen in the near future. So I'm just staying on top of my toes and just being able to adapt to the situation.
𝐏𝐤𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐸, you mentioned about you're hoping that people whom you expect to be part of your team come Olympic time, makasama mo. How crucial ito? At meron pa mga kulang na kailangan mo makasama as of now?
As of now, to be honest, I'm trying to push for my nutritionist to be there with me, so I can know which meals I need to take before the competition. I think we've worked so hard the past couple of years. It will be a shame if I'm going to be losing that day because I didn't eat the right way. So I wouldn't really want to have that there. So I want to have my people there, my physio, my coach, my team, the people I trust, and the people who have worked with me to achieve where we want to be. We have this kind of chemistry as a team, and I trust them. They trust me to do what I can, and I trust them to do what they can.
𝐏𝐤𝐢𝐥𝐢𝐸, it's good that you mentioned about you having a team, kasi inisip ng mga tao, Paul Vault, bakit pa? Ikaw lang naman mag-isa. It's you and you alone, na tumatalon. But siguro to give honor na rin sa team members mo, can you mention ano yung mga crucial part of your team na sinasabi mo, and sino-sino itong mga ito?
It's a lot, man. You know, as an athlete, I said pole vaulting is an individual sport, but you know, we try to have a psychologist. You know, I can't just deal with my, you know, with the things that I need to deal with. And sometimes, you know, an outside perspective helps. And that's where Dr. Katsuga, my psychologist, actually helps me a lot. And I started working with her back in 2019. And that's where I started to jump good. You know, that's probably the best season I have. So sports psychology is very important on my part. Then, you know, you have your nutrition. That's where my nutritionist comes in. You know, which food I should eat before I compete, you know, a week before, what kind of meal planning should I have? This kind of training is currently heavy. What kind of meal plan? Should I increase my protein, carbs? Should I lessen my sugar? You know, this kind of things. These are Miss Carol Lafferty's job. You know, she prepares the best meal plan that I could actually eat and be able to perform my best on the day, even on trainings. And then I have my physios, my osteopath, which are Francesco Viscusi and then Antonio Guglietta. Both of them are working on keeping my body, you know, in sync, in good shape, because back in 2020 I had some back issues. So Antonio is the one who's keeping my, basically more on the skeletal side of things. You know, he manages how to keep my, it's weird to say, my bones in a good place. So yeah, that's how he does his work. And then Nico is more of a physiotherapist, so he works on the muscles and stuff. Then I have Mr. James Lafferty. He basically organizes everything. You know, he plans around the team. He acts more like a manager, but he actually helped me rehab my knee. So, you know, with James Pangilinan and Marvin, you know, I have a lot of people. Right now I'm working with, I think 2, 3, 4, I can say 4 or 5 people that's working around me, not including my coach. Of course, my coach is the most important part of that, you know, and my coach is the one who dictates, okay, today this is going to be the plan, tomorrow it's going to be this. And then everybody part of that team kind of works around his schedule, you know, what he wants me to do on Monday. So my psychologist would plan on how I should approach that training. And then my nutritionist would plan what I would need to eat before going to the training, what time I need to eat the thing, you know, and then my physios need to make sure that my body is able to perform the way Vitaly wants it to perform on that day. And my job as an athlete is to make sure that all that effort that they're giving is I'll be able to return that as well and train as hard as I can, push myself to the limit. And you know, come the day that I need to perform, I perform my best.
Apparently, talagang malaki rin yung team mo. And no, with the way you described your team, talagang it will really cost a lot, ano, for you to become a successful Olympian.
Yeah, of course. You know, funny thing is, my coach actually told me before, like back in his country, they used to provide, like, for a medal, a chance in Olympics, they provide $1 million. And that's what they actually expect to spend. And, you know, considering how the times have changed, you know, these athletes are not training back in the 40s, 50s. These athletes are training scientifically, and having all those people around them actually provides them the best chance and the optimum situation to perform. And I think that's what every country is doing, to be honest.
And we look back on the career of 2-time Mr. Universe and SEA Games medalist, Master Don Cortuna.
Kung nag-ambisyon kayo, hindi yung puro ambisyon, gagawin nyo rin.